far afield in saying that? Is that fairly on the map, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So under what context would that sort of music be played? Sitting in your own room alone, let's lie back and do a bit of, what do you call it, meditation or something, that kind of thing? Or is it just for general use at any? Do you think about that when you make your music? Under what circumstances people will be listening? Or do you mind? Do you just get it out there?
Yeah, I think it's good music for when you're sitting back in your lounge,
Right.
and you've got your media graphics going through the computer, and you're sort of meditating on a thought, really.
I would use the word contemplative.
What does that mean?
You sit back and contemplate the meaning of existence, or just about what your life
Yeah,
or
definitely.
something.
And the track Hope Star is based on that idea, that there's that there is an existence beyond your everyday kind of life.
Beyond?
Well, the expectancy.
Out with?
Yeah.
I'd rather say rather than
that
beyond.
there's like a hope, outside what your everyday life, kind of when you get up in the morning and you think, oh, I've got to go to work, I've got to do this, I've got to do that.
That's the mechanical one.
Yeah, that's the sort of physical kind of like dimension we live in,
That's Newton's universe.
Yeah.
And you look at the link between the Newtonian view, the mechanical view, and the, what is it they call it nowadays? The subatomic world of particles and so on. What is the latest thing?
Well, I mean, there's the transcendental view, which is now a great interest in the world of quantum physics, because
Quantum, that's the one I'm looking for,
quantum physics, yeah, because for instance, I mean, you've heard of these people who have had their brain scans. The brain is a big thing about brain scanning nowadays, isn't there? And
that CT scanning, you call it?
yeah, and how when you meditate, it opens up more routes in the brain, and it shows up as patterns, abnormal patterns, which are way more advanced sort of, and new patterns which are opened up, as opposed to the kind of more normal sort of parts of the brain which you usually use for your everyday kind of conscious daily life. We're talking about sort of like the subconscious and sort of how that is actually a form of intellect, the outer layers of the universe. It's the talking about sort of meditation being an actual a good therapy, because when you relax, it can actually open up more intellectual paths than maybe if you're just concentrating all the time. And for instance, when you're doing exams and you're constantly thinking, and
You're under pressure, basically?
yeah, under pressure of daily life, and that can sort of like restricts, your intelligence. So.
Well, you make an interesting point there, because if you say to me the word intelligence, I think of facts and figures.
Yes.
Rather than perhaps something deeper than that, something out with that realm, that mechanical realm.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, there's a theory that the quantum theory that what happens if 1 and 1 doesn't make 2, sort of thing. I mean, that's just.
Can 1 and 1 make anything you like?
Yeah.
There's multi-universes, and 1 and 1 make different things in each one of those universes?
Yeah, I mean that's, when you're talking about sort of theories in quantum physics, you're talking about cause and effect and chance and the fact that we live in, scientifically speaking, a structured kind of form of atoms and etc., that then advanced quantum physics tells us that, maybe not everything is quite as structured as you'd think it is, or, that there's, possibilities when you think in quantum terms, multiple billions of atoms and whatever. There will always be something not quite as structured. There will always an anti-structure there.
Well, I've heard of such a thing as antimatter.
Yeah.
There is actually, apparently, there is such a thing. It's not just Star Trek.
Oh yeah, there's been for thousands of years since science was born. They've been exploring the in terms of ether, which dates back. The theory of the ether goes back to Greek philosophers. And about the outer universe, the heavens as they call it.
Yeah.
And of course, one thing led to another, and nowadays, antimatter is considered as a sort of form of space between the masses, vacuum, which they're still to this day exploring about that kind of.
Is there such a thing as nothing?
Is there such a thing?
No,
as
you're saying there's
well,
space between atoms, and that has a name, and that has some kind of form, and some kind that can be described.
Yeah.
So is there no such thing as nothing?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, there's the theories about the black hole, and
doesn't that suck in
black hole was
all the what's around it, all the physical?
Yeah, I mean, there's
stuff.
whatever. Continuously new theories being developed about what happens inside a black hole.
I've heard that it squashes down to a singularity.
Yeah,
squashes everything
well,
down.
there's a singularity is a view. It's a concept which
it's not a real thing. It's a concept.
Has been argued that
it's not a physical thing. Can it be proved to be?
It's a possibility that there is a singularity, and that the universe was born once upon a time in the same way that
the Big Bang theory.
It will finish at some point or other. So that's a singularity view.
When you say the universe, what exactly is the universe? I find it difficult to get my head around that.
I mean,
what is the universe? Everything, absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Everything we know and everything we don't know, all put into one.
I mean, there's arguments.
Or are there more than one universes? Is it, I mean, there's different kinds of universes out there, and do they all come under one big heading of, a big universe?
Yeah. I mean, you could argue, is it is the universe, as you say, finite, in which in a singularity, or is it finite? So there's arguments there.
What happens to matter when it passes through the
black hole?
Through the black hole. Does it come out the other side and start a new universe?
Well, I mean, if
could that be a possibility?
Was the case, then there would be a question of what would happen to an atom as it passes through the black hole. Does it?
Is it annihilated?
Yeah. Would an atom actually condense to the point of zero ground velocity, in which case time comes to a halt, or would it? Obviously the black hole is apparently a sort of compressed, state of atomic mass, in which case the energy that comes from a black hole is...
There's no energy coming from a black hole because nothing can escape
well,
from a black
hole? Well, there's an outer shell of energy.
But the way I understood it was that nothing escapes from a black hole.
Well, in theory, I mean, you could...
Time can't escape from a black hole.
Either sort of have a particle which... have an atomic particle which would either replicate itself, at a split point, so you'd have a negative and a positive energy. This is one theory. You're saying that, things actually disappear through a black hole. They'd have to actually come to a point of having a negative mass, and then
mean, I was thinking maybe,
in which case, you know, there would be something on the other side of the black hole.
that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
is there another side?
Yeah, yeah.
And is that a negative form of what's,
Yeah.
or a positive form, and this is a negative form, how do we know, how do we see? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
not God, I don't know.
quantum physics tell us. I mean, the Stephen Hawking's new theory is that the information is still exists in a black hole.
Aye.
It doesn't disappear.
But does he know
Don't
what
lose.
does he know what existence is?
Sorry?
Does he know what existence is?
What do you mean exactly?
What is existence? What is that? It's like the universe. What is the universe? What is existence? These are just words. I mean, I can't get a head of them.
Yeah.
Is it just that I'm not brainy?
Well, I mean, you find with every sort of aspect of science, you're likely to lead to another question, and it's only when these sort of, you know, answers to questions become applied in a sort of, you know, in a physical form, that, you know, such as when you have the EEIB square theory or whatever, you know, which has sort of eventually ended up with the atomic bomb. So, you know, you know, at the end of the day, sort of, you know, that brings us to the point of asking ourselves, you know, well, why do we ask these questions? And you know, what is the aim in the why do scientists take an interest in quantum physics?
Do you have a theory about that?
Well, I think quantum physics inspires us into as a daily interest. And
So you're saying it's just another way to pass the time? It's like a cosmic crossword puzzle?
well, no, I think
In effect?
I think it can lead to things in physical form as well as a mental form as well as in a theoretical form. So, but like we were talking about earlier about having, you know, how scientists are now becoming interested in transcendentalism and meditation, and how that, you know, the theory that there is, you know, outer layers of the universe, and outer layers of intellect, should we say, so, which we maybe don't sort of unaware of.
Is this where your music comes in though? Is music for you a way of exploring these issues without resorting to platitudinous terminology, you know, things like that? It's more of a vibe. And in fact, coming to vibe, you were speaking of transcendental meditation, mate. Is that no, when people are doing the meditation, don't they go
Yes, well, people
which is a vibration.
listen to music when they're meditating.
Music's a vibration, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And there's a vibration there. And the particles in the make up the universe, the known universe that we know about,
Yes.
vibrate at a certain frequency.
Yes.
And someone once told me that
At a low or high frequency.
Someone once told me that if you go at the right frequency and it makes your head, your skull vibrate at the same frequency as the universe, then you become in tune with the universe. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know.
But that ties in with music as well, though, of course, because music
Yes.
is vibration, isn't it?
Right, I see, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, our minds translate frequencies and make what they want to make out of them. So, if you listen to music, your brain is translating it into what it wants to translate it into. I mean, when you conceive a piece of music, your brain has its own individual perception. You know, if you had a brain scan of something, your patterns would come up completely different to someone else's. You know, and there's no repetition of that pattern.
Yeah, but
So
that's what I'm saying, because words seem to be inadequate, because you'll get a million different brain scans,
Yes.
But you won't get a million different explanations of the song, you'll get maybe 2 or 3 of
Yes,
the
yeah.
musical piece.
I mean, we sort of talk in musicological explanations and styles
Right.
of a certain piece of music, and those styles branch out into multiple different directions and different interests. And you know, when you listen to a piece of music, you appreciate certain things maybe more than others. So I think when music is a form of communication, should I say? Does that answer your question?
Well, what isn't a form of
What was the question?
What isn't well, I'm
What are we
interested.
talking
I'm
about?
interested in your last point. What isn't a form of communication?
Yeah.
Is anything not a form of communication in some way or other? Is life itself the universe's way of experiencing itself?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, again, that leads us back to what we were saying before about, how sort of, what is the point of existence? You know, why are we asking ourselves these questions? You know, why do we believe in science? Is there, a reason behind it? Is it purely a technological thing? When we talk about science, is that the only reason why?
There must be something behind science, though.
Yeah.
Or something that influences people to go towards that, down that route.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
Is it the same route as spiritualism? Are the two connected? You seem to believe they are, or you seem to have the feeling, perhaps,
Yes.
a better way to put it, that the two are interconnected?
Well, I mean, there's a theological theory that the science and religion are combined, and that once upon a time there was a God which created everything, and that there is the one God, that is
So
the
this God-
theory, the God of science as well as
This God would then have
religion.
to have created itself.
Yeah.
Get your head around that, mate.
Well, that's up to what you believe yourself at the end of the day. I mean, are you a Christian?
I'm not a religious person at all, no.
No, I mean, theology was the first form of the belief that there is one God.
That's monotheism.
Sorry, monotheism, and at the end of the day, it comes down to what do you believe in, and
I don't even know if I believe in belief, though.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, nowadays it's more complicated. Nowadays you've got science and religion as two different subjects, and science, which is now a matter of free science. So there's now different types of sciences. When science was born, you only had one form of science, and
Well, what constitutes science? Experimentation?
well, I mean,
All science is based on experimentation, surely?
science
Oh,
is
no,
based
no, you have mathematical models.
theoretical theories, yeah, mathematical models.
So there are two forms of science now.
But before mathematics, science was a matter of concept and debate.
Poke it and see how it reacts, basically.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And it was only until we had technology which science actually became, where the theories actually became sort of when they invented the first microscope, for instance, and they learned that that the world was round.
This was the 1600s, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
I think sort of back in the days before there was technology, there was lots of different theories about atomism. Before we actually, had the technology and the mathematical knowledge to be able to, pinpoint the atom and even, break the nucleus of it and experiment with the energies of atomic mass. So I think that, the question is there a difference between religion and science, could you consider these as being still theological debate?
With some people,
that there is only one. There is only one God of science and religion.
there is only one true God, only one true science.
Yeah. I mean, on one side of the spectrum, you have mathematical theory, which is factual, and then on the other side of the spectrum, you have science, religion, which is purely based on individual perception and belief. So, where is the centre of that spectrum, do you think?
The human brain.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we are individuals,
Which
aren't we?
brings us on to, if you don't mind me
Influenced